Well, good morning and welcome to CBS News Mornings. It's 7 o'clock here in New York City. I'm Anne-Marie Green. And Donald Trump scores another victory in his fight for the Republican nomination. His win in New Hampshire last night paves the way for a possible rematch against President Biden in November. CBS News projects that he won 55% of the vote. However, Nikki Haley says that she is not bowing out yet. She vowed to continue fighting, especially in her home state of South Carolina next month. Last night, Trump and Haley traded jabs as they addressed supporters.
She was up and I said, wow, she's doing like a speech like she won. She didn't win, she lost. And you know, last week we had a little bit of a problem, and if you remember, Ron was very upset because she ran up and she pretended she won Iowa. And I looked around, I said, didn't she come in third? Yeah, she came in third.
I defeat Biden handily.
We want you, Nikki!
With Donald Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another. This court case, that controversy, this tweet, that senior moment. You can't fix Joe Biden's chaos with Republican chaos.
We've won almost every single poll in the last 3 months against crooked Joe Biden, almost every poll. And she doesn't win those polls. And she doesn't win those. This is not your typical victory speech, but let's not have somebody take a victory when she had a very bad night. She had a very bad night.
No, I've long called for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75. Trump claims he'd do better than me in one of those tests. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But if he thinks that, then he should have no problem standing on a debate stage with me.
Well, Caitlin Huey-Burns has been tracking it all and explains how this all unfolded.
With New Hampshire, it's back-to-back victories for former President Donald Trump as he moves closer to the Republican presidential nomination.
We have to do what's good for our party.
Trump's win in the state, where nearly half of the voters identify as independents, adds to questions about former Ambassador Nikki Haley's path to victory. And Trump spent a majority of his speech last night appearing almost angry as he fixated on his only remaining GOP opponent.
This is not your typical victory speech, but let's not have somebody take a victory when she had a very bad night. She had a very bad night.
Trump's success in New Hampshire comes down to the strength of his base. According to CBS News exit polls, 80% of Trump's voters described their support as strongly for him, while only 30% of Haley's voters said they strongly favor her. Most of her backers said they were voting for her with some reservations or because they disliked Trump.
New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation.
Still, Haley is vowing to stay in the race, criticizing her 77-year-old rival.
With Donald Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another. This court case, that controversy, this tweet, that senior moment.
While Trump appeared to forecast a bruising campaign against Haley if she stays in the fight, and he leveled baseless accusations.
And just a little note to Nikki, she's not going to win. She's not going to win. But if she did, she would be under investigation by those people in 15 minutes, and so would Ron have been, but he decided to get out. He decided to get out.
But Haley says it's on to her home state of South Carolina.
Every time I've run for office in South Carolina, I've beaten the political establishment.
I did hear Nikki say, and now it's off to South Carolina. Well, I love South Carolina.
Well, CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen is joining us now with a little more analysis when it comes to what happened last night. So listen, Jake, you know, despite the loss, Haley's speech felt a bit like a victory lap. I mean, she did lose. She did a little better than some of the polling suggested that she would. So I guess it's all in how you want to interpret the data to determine whether or not this is a loss that's a bit of a win for her. What are you hearing from the campaign?
Well, this is all about kind of projection going forward, right? She needs to convince donors and her supporters to keep backing her despite losing. But she did kind of close the margin with Trump, but maybe not as much as she may need to really have it be called a quote-unquote race. The good news for Haley, she still has a month before the South Carolina primary. The bad news for Haley, the Nevada caucus is before that. Donald Trump is expected to win that. Haley's team told me they're likely not going to participate. It would be very difficult for someone to break through. It's a little complicated, but just the way that it's set up.
Yeah.
So for Haley and her team, her speech last night, as Bob Costa said on air, was probably the most important moment of this trail for her, to basically project going forward. It doesn't matter technically the results. It's about how she frames herself last night going into the next month.
And then what about Donald Trump? I mean, he won. He was projected to win. It was a strong win. You wouldn't say it was a blowout. So, but Donald Trump has said before, a win's a win. It really doesn't matter. And he's right. Is that accurate? And does winning by a close margin hurt him in any way?
No, I think the way that the margin really has folded, unless something changes, it just seems to me like this is kind of about what I would expect it as someone who's lived here for 3+ months. About that 12, 15-point victory. I don't know that Haley had quite the runway with this two-person race framing that she had to make a more convincing argument over a longer period of time. But I think for Trump, the reality is this was going to be probably the toughest early state for him, with the amount of moderate, quote, and independent voters that just sometimes would, maybe have voted for Trump twice, and something over the last couple of years, forced them to break from him, or maybe they supported him early and went to Biden. This is just a very unique state, as we'll probably talk about and we have talked about for the last 3 months.
Yeah, we will probably talk about it because those undeclared really made a huge difference, and it may speak more to what could happen in the general election than it does in the upcoming primaries. Jake, thank you very much. Well, President Biden is hoping a new campaign shakeup will give his election bid a major boost. 2 of his top aides will move from the White House to the campaign trail. Deputy Chief of Staff Jen O'Malley Dillon and Senior Advisor Mike Donnellan will help oversee the campaign in Delaware. President Biden won New Hampshire's Democratic primary through a write-in campaign. He faced a challenge from Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips, who says that he's the only one who can beat Donald Trump in November.
So I'm here to say, you ready to keep this baby going? A lot of people put a lot of faith in Nikki Haley tonight. This was the one state they thought maybe if it happened here, maybe it could happen. It didn't happen, my friends. I'm the only one going to stand in the way of that man. And that means I need all of you. Joe Biden is a good man. He is a fine man. Yes, he is, everybody. He's our president. But I got to tell you, everyone, he cannot win.
Well, later this hour, I'll talk to Nancy Cordes about all of this, including the Biden campaign's response to Trump's latest victory. With Iowa and New Hampshire done, the GOP candidates are looking ahead. Nevada is next up, and things get a little dicey, as you just heard. There, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley are actually not competing against each other in the state because Nevada is having both a primary and a caucus. Haley will run in the primary on February 6th, while Trump is going to compete in the caucuses 2 days later. But the delegates will only be awarded based on the caucuses. Then about 2 weeks later, South Carolina will hold its primary, followed by Super Tuesday on March 5th.